Police detective and defense attorney Ted Williams, along with retired FBI supervisory special agent, former head of FBI active shooter response training, their program there, Rob Chadwick. Gentlemen, thank you both for being here on this Saturday. Ted, I want to start with you, as the governor has talked a little bit about the motive out there, Governor Spencer Cox, and he's also talked about this being an attack on all of this. Right now, I'm looking at the probable cause affidavit. It has aggravated murder on there. But is there a potential for a much broader charge, both at the state level and potentially federally speaking, as we look ahead to this upcoming week? Ted.
Hi, Molly. I have to believe that the killing of Charlie Kirk under the circumstances here is an aggravated murder offense that carries the death penalty. There are some quirks in the Utah death penalty law that may stop this from happening. However, I believe, and I do believe as we speak, that the President of the United States may very well be listening to what I am saying. And I'm asking the President of the United States to go to the Congress and enact a terrorism penalty for killing someone under the circumstances in which Charlie Kirk was killed here. I do believe that this man, Tyler Robinson, intentionally planned, premeditation, all of the things that are necessary are there to have a terrorism policy or law on the books. And we do not have that on the books at this stage, and we really need that. And President Trump, you can call this the Charlie Kirk Terrorism Act. But I ask you to go to the Congress and do that. It is necessary in this time and age.
Rob, bringing you in on the points that Ted was making, the full impact of this, it doesn't seem emotionally, and when you think about how this occurred before a large group of young people, more than 1,000 people, standing on a college campus against Charlie Kirk, who was not only an inspirational figure, but professed his faith, freedom of religion, talked openly, debated, freedom of speech, brought people into a group, assembly, all of these things that we hold so dear. Is there a charge here that might apply that is greater than what I'm looking at in this paper of aggravated murder? And do you think it's likely that we'll see something that addresses some of that?
No question, Molly, and Ted is spot on. This is absolutely an act of terrorism. It meets the definition of terrorism. This is a person that is trying to influence or undermine or change the way we behave through violence. And it's clearly an act of terrorism, as are so many of these other previous assassination attempts. They're trying to coerce our society, into changing the way we behave and think. And so there's no question it meets the definition of terrorism. And so I believe that both the Department of Justice and certainly the executive branch as a whole will pursue this as it should be, as a terrorist investigation, and pursue it as such. No question.
Rob, one more question before we move on to the next topic for you. We know that conservative speakers on college campuses have faced many threats in recent years. And we know that even just very recently, the President of the United States was nearly killed by a shooter on a rooftop. And here we look at this bowl that we're looking at in Orem, Utah, on the campus, looking down from essentially rooftops. Is it time to ensure that the rooftops are looked at in cases anywhere where there's a public speaker, particularly on college campuses in this apparently very heightened environment?
Well, as someone who spent quite a great deal of time on protection details myself, the number one rule of a protector is anything that is predictable is exploitable. And so, Charlie Kirk was on tour. It was very heavily advertised. And so people knew in advance not only when he was going to be there, but exactly where. And
Which was the point
Mr.
of what he was doing, to bring people together. But go on.
That's right. That's exactly right. Mr. Kirk's detail did everything they could. Most people on the planet don't have access to what the President of the United States does. But we are going to have to take some steps. But what I don't want to see is us retreating from that public discourse. This is exactly what Charlie would not want. He wants us to continue courageously getting out there and standing up for civil discourse, the First Amendment first and foremost.
And Ted, to you with this next case, moving this forward, really on the same topic though, another case, political violence going on. Ryan Ruth, he's the man, of course, accused of trying to assassinate President Trump. This was in the golf course though. He's facing his federal trial, ongoing right now this week. Ruth is acting as his own attorney, and he's begun to question witnesses, including the Secret Service agent who busted him there in the bushes that day. Ted, first, your take on this trial so far and on Ruth defending himself.
You know, I think anyone who defends himself under these circumstances has a fool for a client. But I got to tell you, the evidence in this case against Ryan Ruth is overwhelming. There's evidence to show that for days he stayed and laid in watch, hoping to get a view of President Trump on that golf course. And but for a brave Secret Service agent spotting him and shooting at him, and him getting away but later being found, this could have ended very differently. And if I just for a moment may go back to our the topic that we covered on Charlie Kirk, I am saying a domestic terrorism act is what we need in place. We don't have that in this country, Molly.